So here's a bit of a follow-up to our last post where we're like, this house is not selling, what do we need to do? Then I started looking and going, obviously this is an eyesore, this is a vacant house.
My husband and I are listing a house in what the Wall Street Journal dubbed the worst market in America.
New data show that starter homes in a record number of U.S. cities now cost $1 million or more.
All right, so today we're going to be taking a look at why homes aren't selling in 2026. You know why, I know why, but I guess the sellers and realtors still don't know. It all comes down to the price. We have a ton of stuff to go over today, along with comments from you guys from previous videos. So if you want to be featured on a future video, leave in the comments down below. But let's start off with a big reason why homes aren't selling, especially to first-time home buyers.
New data show that starter homes in a record number of U.S. cities now cost $1 million or more. NPR's Jennifer Ludden reports it's part of a surge in home prices since 2020.
New data from the real estate website Zillow finds 242 cities have million-dollar entry-level homes. That's 3 times as many as before the pandemic housing boom. Most places are in California, but the fastest growth is in New York and New Jersey. Million-dollar starters have also spread to Texas, Wyoming, and Illinois. They're defined here as the lowest third of the market in a region. Despite that, Zillow finds that nationwide, the typical starter home is still a lot less, just under $200,000. A housing shortage has priced out many first-time buyers, but Zillow finds the tough market easing a bit, with more inventory and prices growing more slowly.
Honestly, I don't know where you're finding starter homes at $200,000 that aren't in the middle of nowhere. And to add on to it, those same areas don't have jobs that pay very well either. And the work from home jobs have been drying up over the past few years, so you can't decide to go out to the middle of nowhere and work from your laptop. You have to be somewhat near these cities because that's where all the jobs are. And now the barrier to entry is $1 million. I don't know how these people are affording to buy, so starter homes don't even exist anymore. Got it. It's part of private equity buying up homes and jacking up the prices. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And where is my $1 million starter salary? I asked you guys in an older video, do you see overpriced listings where you live? Absolutely incredibly high prices and plenty for sale for a long time. Yes, because I live in California, the most greedy, corrupt state of the US, that had the most amount of cities where starter homes were over $1 million. I've personally never been to California. I bet the weather is amazing. But unless you were genuinely ultra rich, I don't know why people live there. It seems like everywhere you turn, they're trying to squeeze every last dime out of you. Southern Ohio is seeing homes sit for 6+ months. A year ago, sold signs were up within days of it being listed. People think their homes are worth more than they are. Houses around me that used to be $180,000 in 2018 are now going for $400,000. $500,000 to $600,000 if a flipper got their hands on it. We'll also be seeing a couple examples of that, but we could just move on.
Why isn't my house selling? Let me save you some time. It's probably not what you think, huh? It's not because your agent doesn't want to do open houses, and it's not the photos, unless they were taken from a flip phone from 2007, okay? It's not the market, and it's not that the buyers just aren't looking right now. It's the price, it's the price, it's the price. Buyers don't skip good homes. They skipped overpriced homes. If you're getting showings but no offers, that's not bad luck. That's the market telling you something. And the longer it sits, the more leverage you lose. Price reductions later usually cost you more than pricing it right from the start. So let me tell you something. Do you want showings? Do you want offers? Because if you want showings that actually turn into contracts, you don't need more open houses. You need a price that makes buyers move. Pricing matters, but pricing wins every time.
But regardless of how many times you say it, there are so many that are just stuck in that 2020, 2021 era and want absolutely top dollar for their house, even though it's definitely not worth it. We got a comment from you guys right here. When I look at houses on Zillow in my area, almost all of them were sold around 2019 for less than $150,000, and now they're selling for around $400,000. When you look at the pictures, they look like they haven't been updated since the 1980s. Absolutely insane. I think that's pretty funny because that's what you see a lot whenever you look at places in New Jersey. There's a reason why I don't live there anymore, but I just wanted to look for fun. Absolutely ridiculous prices still, and you would have to completely renovate the entire house.
The current state of the housing market is not really good. You have over 600,000 more sellers than buyers. That means that there are not many people buying houses right now. Well, why not? Now, in some areas in Miami, it's 150% more sellers than buyers right now. 150% seller to buyer ratio. Right now, especially over the past year, most of the buyers out there were cash buyers. That's why housing prices stayed up as well, because people who were buying at or above asking where they wanted to be. They were cash buyers. Well, what does a cash buyer have to do with this? Well, cash buyers buy their houses and then you run out of cash buyers and you're left with mortgage buyers. Mortgage buyers, people who finance less than 20%, like 10%, 5%, 3%, whatever. Here's the problem. Housing prices are still high and rates are high. Mortgage buyers are the ones that are unable to afford right now. There is one section of the housing market that is seeing an increase, and that is luxury homes. Luxury homes saw a 4.9% increase in sale price over the past year because of the AI and market boom. So there's a big difference. It's that K-shaped recovery, that dual economy. That dual economy, the haves just have more.
But everybody else just ends up getting screwed because they can't afford a home. And yet again, the current sellers want that market from a few years ago. All cash offers, over listing, no inspections. And to be honest, they really should have sold their house several years ago when that was viable, because it's not anymore. But we could go over and take a look at a few clips on why houses aren't selling.
So here's a bit of a follow-up to our last post where we're like, this house is not selling, what do we need to do? So we've added some more mulch. I need to get, flowers are starting to come, so we're going to get something here, probably 2 maybe smaller arborvitae there, maybe a bush or something here. So we're going to get some stuff in here. But then I started looking and going, obviously this is an eyesore, this is a vacant house. So I started thinking some stuff through, and there's a couple things that I did. There was a lot of overgrowth right here, so I got rid of all that yesterday. This just needs to get trimmed down. Obviously there's some garbage and debris here, but the big thing that I realized is I'm looking at all the plywood. Our kitchen window's right here. You're looking right at the plywood. It looks nasty. Well, guess what happens? This is a vacant building, and I've been inside of it, and if you look, there's windows here. Behind all of these plywoods are windows, and behind this is a door and windows over there. So here's the thing. There's nothing inside. This is down to the studs. There's nothing inside to steal. So now I'm reaching out to the owner, and I'm going to remove all of those pieces of plywood to make this look like a normal freaking house.
Alright, so removing a plywood can make it look better, but regardless, it's still going to look like a rundown, abandoned house. And with the flip right next to it that's most likely an astronomical price, what buyers would want to live right next to that house all the time? On one hand, I'd want to ask why he's not trying to buy that other house to make it look nicer, but most likely it would take a ton of work and money and is probably not worth it. But then that means the house you already flipped that's right next to it is going to hurt because of it. The house is not selling, so you added mulch. I think that next door abandoned building is the issue to start with. Exactly. You could also add in the neighborhood. I'm not sure where they are, but if you have a boarded up abandoned house, that's probably not the best look. We got another comment here. On top of all the price problems, remember that too many sellers are using AI to spruce up the property they're trying to sell. I've seen this on Zillow and Realtor as well. There's one house for sale right now in this neighborhood that has a horrible front lawn from years of neglect, looking like the green at a golf course. So that could also turn away a whole bunch of buyers. You see all of these pictures online. You go over to the property and the first thing you see, you're immediately disappointed, let alone any of the possible problems that's wrong with the house. That could also be spruced up by AI photos. Now this next one's just a quick clip, but if they ever decide to sell this house down the road, they'll be losing quite a bit of money.
So we live in a log cabin that my wife is turning white.
We're just going to go right over to the comment section. The first one is just somebody yelling no. The creator says, I like the wood. My wife doesn't like the darkness. I hope you guys really don't like money either. It's okay to tell her no. Horrible decision you can't reverse. The entire idea of a wood cabin is because it's a wood cabin. I think the exact same way. I personally really like wood cabins. And now in my eyes, you basically ruined it. Yep, and the value just dropped 50%. This is so tacky. Give me a call when she's done. I'm a sandblaster and strip logs to stain. Won't be able to sell it when she's done. Add lighting, don't ruin the gorgeous wood. Log cabins aren't painted for a reason. I mean, it just went on and on. That was a crazy choice in my opinion.
So, tell me it's a flip house without telling me it's a flip house. We have a newly renovated bathroom. However, on the shower enclosure, they decided to mount the shower head on the back wall instead of the side wall. It is a very shallow enclosure. There's not a door or a shower curtain here. So when I turn the water on, it sprays outside of the enclosure, all on the floor. And on the tub, they did not have a tub faucet, so they put in a kitchen sink faucet with a retractable head and 2 different sprayer modes.
Okay, so for the first one, even if they did put up a shower curtain, the water would just be hitting it constantly. It would be incredibly annoying to shower there every day. And the other one with the sink faucet in the tub, it just looks super tacky and low quality to me, which is one of the huge problems with flipped houses in general, but we'll go over to the comments. I can't imagine how long that tub takes to fill. The creator responds forever. For when you know you'll have a long day, start filling up the tub before you go to work. The second I see flipped or renovated in a listing, I run. If that's what you see, the more concerning part is what's behind the walls. Who installs a shower head on the wrong side? You're already doing the work, might as well do it right. Makes a very good point there. It's fine, they actually aren't going to sell it. They'll just rent it out for $4,000 a month, or worse yet, Airbnb it for $200 a night and charge an 80% cleaning fee. And that goes well with another comment from you guys. Remember the time when people sold their house because they had to move for work or family reasons? I miss those days. Now everything's got to be an investment and you have to make the most amount of money possible.
We decided to come here because we swore that we would be upfront and honest and open about the good, the bad, the ugly, and all the things in between with this adventure. The truth is, we have listed the house. It has sat on the market for 2 months. We have gotten very little, how do you say, traction? We've gotten 1 offer and they...
We got 4 offers, but we're not...
We got 1 real offer and they ended up ghosting their realtor when it came time to put the earnest money down. And the other offers were from investors who lowballed us like 200 grand. So anyways, there's, it's just not a good time in our area to sell. I don't know what the market is where you guys are, but for us, it is horrible, and we are not going to just give our house away.
And we could get a little bit more context in the comment section. Is your home priced right? Or are you priced high? Is there something maybe wrong with the home that buyers may not like? Busy street? The creator responds, we already got an appraisal, so it's priced right. The 2 complaints we've gotten is that there's no garage and the house is small. It's just over 1,500 square feet. Another person asked, how much are you asking for the house? And they respond, the house is new construction, so nothing wrong with it. People are wising up to new builds, so that could turn a lot of people away immediately. And another problem for them, builders are offering a lot of creative financing on new houses that are selling in South Carolina. So now they're going to have to compete with this.
Do you know someone trying to sell their home and they can't do it? Or maybe they're thinking about doing it? Watch this. This is why it's brutal to try and sell right now. That's from Highland Homes. They're giving you a $20,000 discount towards closing costs to buy your interest rate down. And by the way, that's a very complicated subject. It's not always a good deal for you. Or just towards up, and that's before the negotiation. So if you're thinking of selling your home, that's a brand new Highland, arguably the finest builder in Texas. Here's what Highland's doing to get the realtor. Remember, like if you sell your home, people rely on the realtor for advice. Highland's offering the realtor a $10,000 bonus. Now, in regards to bonuses, I think it's unethical for a realtor to take a bonus.
But obviously, it's still happening. And these new builds are sitting even though they're being built at record pace. And now there's a lot of incentives just to get them sold. So anybody who bought them at top dollar a few years ago, tough luck.
A housing data contradiction that I think about a lot is that the US is short millions of homes because we underbuilt for like 30 years. But at the same time, home builders are sitting on the most unsold inventory since 2009, which was the depth of the mortgage crisis. There are so many newly constructed homes right now that are sitting empty because they just don't have buyers. Here's the current supply chart, by the way. The grayed out part is the recession that was caused by the mortgage crisis. The supply and demand mismatch we're seeing has everything to do with affordability. The buyers who might want to buy a new home just can't afford the prices that are out there. The median new build costs $425,000. That number has actually continued to rise even as sales fall and inventory piles up. If you've ever seen a supply and demand chart in an econ class, you obviously know that when supply and demand get out of whack like this because stuff is too expensive, you would expect prices to fall. And new build prices are being cut in some markets, especially places like Texas and Florida, where the oversupply situation is the worst. But it's not happening as much as you might expect. Builders really don't like cutting prices on homes because it puts the buyers who bought earlier at the higher prices at an immediate disadvantage, and then they get mad.
But it's kind of looking like they don't have that option anymore. If you don't sell the house, you're not going to make the money. And it definitely does depend on where you live in the country. We've talked about it many times. Texas and Florida is hurting pretty bad now. I would also add in a lot of the states that people moved to during COVID. Many left California going over to Nevada. On the other side of the countries, both the Carolinas, Tennessee is very popular. And again, if you bought at the absolute top of the market and want to move now, your options aren't looking too great. Another thing to add on when it comes to new builds as well, comment here, buying a house with an expensive HOA is insane because the HOA fee will only go up. And really every time that there's a new community that pops up with all the new builds, they always have an HOA, turning away yet even more people. I don't want to live in an HOA.
Our house has been on the market for 16 days, which in hindsight for national average is probably not that long. But why does selling your house feel like you're in a toxic relationship? I'm so tired of packing up my kids and the dogs and leaving this house spotless just to have someone come in. It's like, do you like it? After every showing, I just like sit here and I'm like, all right, is that the one? Is this gonna be it? I need to probably stop thinking that way because that's probably what is messing with my head. I am so ready for this process to be over. We move the end of this month and I pray to God every day that someone's gonna buy this.
So how do you think you sell a house? Would you want the potential buyers to just walk in while you're hanging out and all of your crap's everywhere? I really don't know what she wants. Ours has been on the market for over 100 days now, 3 price reductions and several showings later. The feedback is always the same. The house is gorgeous, but we decided to move on something else. The creator responds, that's the most frustrating feedback. To me, that sounds like it's still overpriced, even with the reductions. It's overpriced, simple. If you want to sell quick, lower the price. We had 90 showings on our empty house in 30 days and got 1 offer. House was fully remodeled, so that might mean it was a flip, and $50,000 cheaper than any house around. Nobody's buying unless they get it dirt cheap, and that's what their goal is. Even if it was $50,000 less than the whole neighborhood. If the entire place is still wildly overpriced, it's still too much money. And it's because your house isn't worth $200,000 over what it's worth.
This week, I had not one, but 2 appraisals come back low. One came in $11,000 below contract price, while the other one came in $20,000. And here's the thing, both of those numbers landed exactly where I told my buyer we should be when we made the offer, both of them. So what does this tell you? It tells you the market is speaking. The problem is sellers just aren't listening. We're still seeing sellers price and negotiate homes like it's 2020. And I get it. Inventory, at least in our area, is still pretty low. That part hasn't changed, but the buyers have changed. The people looking to buy right now, they do want to buy. They're just not desperate. They're cautious. They're doing their homework. They're not going to just throw money at a house and hope it works out. So when a seller sits at a price that the market doesn't support and a buyer makes an offer based on what the data actually says, the appraisal is going to side with the buyer every time.
Do sellers think we can't literally see everything? When you bought it, for how much, and every time you listed and removed it. Every pending sale and price reduction. That's also something that'll turn me away very quickly. If I see you bought the house a couple years ago and now want almost double for it, even though you basically did nothing, I don't care how nice the house is, I'm done looking at it. We've walked away from 3 counter offers recently, sellers won't budge, and I'm not overpaying, so you could keep it. Houses sitting for 400 days now and not lowering the price. And the sellers today in 2026 missed the bubble. Yep.
Y'all, my husband and I are listing a house in what the Wall Street Journal dubbed the worst market in America. We're listing our house in Southwest Florida, and the Wall Street Journal says it's the worst time in America for any seller to sell a house in that market. So, you know, I'm a real estate agent myself. I get the question a lot, is this a bad time for me to sell? And I just turn around and look at the person and say, you know, are you happy where you are? Can you afford to sell? Is your home or where you are in life or what you're doing working for you right now as it is? And if the answer is no, if this isn't working for you, then it's not the worst time for you to sell. This house isn't working for us anymore, so she's going on the market.
Just be prepared to lose a bunch of money. Well, if you list it for what it's actually worth and not what you think it's worth, you'll have zero issues. These houses are overpriced. I'm not buying a house that's over $500,000 when it's really $260,000 at most. And the HOA and property taxes in Southwest Florida are insane. No wonder why people are trying to sell. And at least for this situation, she responded, we don't have an HOA, thankfully. Still, the property taxes are brutal along with insurance. And there are a lot of other instances with sky-high HOA fees. And speaking of those kinds of areas, especially Florida, we got another comment here. I wonder how many were purchased to use for Airbnbs. Sounds like the Airbnb business is not doing well either. We have an entire series on the channel talking about that because so many people wanted that passive income stream of people going down to Florida for vacation. And right now, it's really not that profitable anymore.
It's been about 5 months since I got my real estate license and I haven't sold. I have not sold anything, but I'm not gonna say that's okay because the bills need to be paid, but I will say getting into this industry is way harder than I thought. So if you've been doing this for a long time, comment some advice or anything that helped you get your first sale because I need to get mine.
I can already tell it's a lack of professionalism. My advice would be to brush up on your speaking skills and treat every TikTok like it's marketing yourself and your abilities. Change your hair color, another person saying it's your appearance, hair, style, the way you speak. It's giving the I'm still young, I don't care, I'm just trying to make money, but I really don't know what I'm doing. Now all of those can be a factor, but we could go over to this comment. I feel like you should take down the videos about you failing your test 7 times because if I was looking for an agent, that might deter me from working with you because it might make people not confident that you know what you're doing. I feel like that's the biggest factor right there. Why would you ever admit that on TikTok when you're a realtor? It is insane the amount of people that overshare online.
So as prices are falling right now, I'm finding it increasingly more difficult to find a seller who's willing to sell their property for what the market price is. So the market right now, again, we've been through this a couple times, but the bid to ask spread is widening. What a seller wants and what a buyer wants to pay, that spread has widened again. And a very common issue right now is a lot of the listings that my buyers are writing offers on, the seller cannot sell the property at the market value or slightly below them. You know, we're trying to get a deal too, but roughly that should be the price that it should sell for, and the sellers can't take it. Why can't they take it? Because they wouldn't be able to close the sale. All the equity's gone. They have no other cash to close this sale, so they literally can't sell it. We are seeing way more foreclosures right now, and when I'm seeing this in the market, it tells me there's going to be even more next year. You know, I'm pulling the title on these properties. There's 2 or 3 mortgages on them. They paid $600,000 in 2023. It's worth around $5 million. You know, so it's basically lick your wounds now or the bank takes it later.
Going right over to the comments, you mean what the house is actually worth? My husband and I are in the window shopping portion of buying a house. Just checking it out, people are asking for $500,000 for a house with a kitchen and bathrooms from 1970. These $150,000 to $200,000 homes are not worth $350,000 to $400,000 now, years later with 0 updates. And it really seems like a lot of the updates that do happen are DIY hacks that are as cheap as possible. A prime example was that bathroom clip earlier in this video. We got another comment here, Austin, Texas, 2026. A house in my neighborhood was listed 2 years ago at $590,000. It finally sold this year for $360,000. But at least at the time uploading this video, it's probably going to get worse for the summer.
I want you to take notice after next week, the record amount of delistings that are going to take place. Because after the 4th of July, no one is going to be really interested in buying a house. Back to school is going to be the main theme at all the stores, on television, on radio. It's going to be back to school, back to school. So after next week, that whole rest of the month of July into August, you are going to see in huge, massive numbers, people just removing their house from listing. because in all likelihood, they're not going to be selling their house until next year. The real estate market for the rest of summer, fall, and winter is beyond bad the last couple of years.
So if this keeps happening year after year and people keep listing their house for way too much money, eventually this is what Endgame is going to look like.
What's going to happen when the younger generation can't buy the boomers' houses? What do we do? The age is creeping up year by year. At some point, it's just going to be unaffordable.
They'll be bought by companies and force everyone to rent. The houses will be bought by corporations and leased out to the younger generation. That's what's already been happening for years now. But that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys later.